grade. It's Miss Street, your good friend here. Still telling time, feeling good about it. I forgot one thing that I wanted to get, but it's okay. I can go get it in a second. First, we're gonna Subitize. And today, Miss Street has changed this up. Today, we're gonna play, hold on, a missing add-in. I have 2 cards. So I have 5 and 4. We know that makes 9. But I only want to have a quantity of 4. So today we're looking at taking away or subtracting. So, and I'm not going to show you an answer, you just have to tell me. So I have 9, but when I Subitize, I can see this. But I only want to have 4. How many do I take away? Good job. Are you ready? Let's get some music going up in here. And we'll be having lots of fun. Maybe. I love it when my things work. All right, here we go. What'd you say? Want me to go back? I'll go back for you. You want me to go back? Miss Street needed to double check too. Last one. Oh, that one's easy. I'm not going back for that one. Let's do one more. Ooh, I got to go back on that one. Good job. That one was a doozy right there. Woo! All right, guys. So let's get our clocks ready. And we're still looking at our time, 2nd grade. And I'm going to spend more time on this just because it's so important, especially with, gosh, a lot of things with 3rd grade, with fractions, with actually just telling time, knowing what time it is that you're doing things. So there's one thing I did forget to get, so I'm going to run over here and grab it.
Mama, where's
Yes,
Jeff
dear.
going by?
Huh?
Jeff.
Jeff, not today. All right, so.
Are you done?
I'm not done. I'm recording right now. Okay, so.
Where's that go?
He's outside. Let me go grab this.
Go where?
Where is my stuff? Yes, I found it. Sorry about that. Okay, so the time that Miss Street started was 11:30. And in 1st grade, we learned that's called half past 11. And we noticed that our hour hand, and I just cut some straws, our hour hand is pointing to the middle of the 11 and the 12. And my minute hand is pointing straight down to the 6, which counting by 5s, we know that that's 30, okay? So 11:30, and I wrote it digitally here with my Uno cards because that's fun. I like to do things a little bit different. It makes me happy. But you can write it with a marker. You don't have to use Uno cards if you don't have any. That's okay. Just use what you have at home. So now, one thing that 2nd grade has to be able to do is you have to be able to use an analog and a digital clock. And Miss Ramsey and I talked a lot about this last week. We know an analog clock is a circular clock. There's a lot going on inside this analog clock. And I think it was funny, Miss Street made connections over the weekend with our analog brain because we talked about the research behind analog and digital. Like, would you rather your fuel meter read like this or like this? And we talked about how research shows that our brains think analog. And I think that's funny because there's so much going on in this clock right here. which is so true for all of us. There's a bunch going on in my brain for sure. Like sometimes I'm like, what? So I can really relate to this analog clock right here, okay? And you guys also have to be able to tell if it's in the AM or if it's in the PM. So today we're not gonna work on a schedule. We're just really gonna work on telling time. One of your task cards you might see, or you know, this is just very, very basic. It's just write the time digital that you see. And then at the bottom, we have a time there, and we have to draw the clock hands on the clock. So we're gonna do that today. And then tomorrow we might get more into a schedule, okay? And I will have one thing I want to share too about the clock. So I'm gonna put this up, hopefully close you can see it. That's the first one. And the clock, the analog clock looks like this. And we have to write digitally on our digital clock what time this shows. What time do you say? You say 0, 3, or your clock just might say 3. But I'm gonna put a 0 here. 3, what? We learned that from Miss Ramsey. 3 o'clock, because we're all the way up at 60 minutes, and that means o'clock. O, true story. So here I would write 3 o'clock, just like that. See it? All right, let's look at the next one. This is where Miss Street told you guys it gets tricky business. True story. Let's look at it. So now our clock looks like this. And that's very, very hard to see, because it's tricky, because remember we talked about last week how the hour hand moves too, but the hour hand moves like Dory speaks well. It moves very slow. So this hour hand is still moving, and we showed it with our number line that it takes us going 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60 to even move one space on this number line, okay? And Miss Street just did that very, 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 very fast. So let's look at it. Let's look at our hour hand. Got a little static going on with my straws. A lot of kids would want to say that this is, and I'm trying to do it, would say that this is 3, would you quit? 3, and we count around 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. So a lot of our kids would want to say that this shows 3:50. Okay, I'm gonna take that 0 off. 3:50. But we've got to look at it. We see that the hour hand is not even at the 3 yet. And we have to think about our magnitude. If it was 3:50, that would mean that it would almost be 4 o'clock. And is that what our hour hand is showing us? It's showing us that it's almost 3 o'clock. So it's not quite yet 3. I know, right? It's confusing. But it's important that you know these things. So our hour would really be 2, changing out my Uno cards, 2, and then we know that that's 50. So we could also say it's 10 minutes until 3 o'clock, because as we do that, we would say 5, 10, and then it would be 3 o'clock. Okay? So we would write 2:50 as 2, 5, oh. Ta-da, ta-da. All right, let's take a look at our next one. Hope I'm doing good. All right, so I'm going to do it right here on this clock. I'm going to try to replicate it. It looks like I've got my hour hands going sort of hang on, sort of in between the 12 and the 1. Okay, it can look like it's pointing to the 1, but is it yet? Let's think about it. It's not yet 1 o'clock, but it's 12. Good. So we would say this time is 12:30. And we know that 30 minutes is half of 60 minutes. A lot going on here. This is so helpful with 3rd grade fractions. Telling a true story. All right, last one that we write digital. Here we go. So it looks like this. Trying. All right, roly-poly-oly. I have to stay put. Looks like that. So I can see it's between the 6 and the 7. So that tells Miss Street in my mind it's not yet 7 o'clock. So our hour is still in the 6. And we know when we count around that when we get to 9, that's 45. So the time here is 6:45. Miss Street forgot to do that digital on the other one too. It's a true story. I'm sorry. So we'll do 6:45. 6 and 4. 6:45. That's the digital time. So now we have the digital time, and we have to draw in our clocks on the analog clock. So let's see. I see that this says my hour is 7 and my minutes is 55. So listen, people, we got to think about this. Now, if we know that 55, what's going to happen in 5 minutes? It's going to go to 8 o'clock. So our hour hand shouldn't be pointing straight at the 7. It should be really closely pointing to the 8, if not at the 8 for sure, because it's getting ready to be 8 o'clock. Now, I don't know if that's AM or PM. I'm just saying. So we could draw, make sure I do 55. And when Miss Street does that on an analog clock, I like to draw my hand all the way through the time so I can see. So 7:55, it looks like 8:55, but we know we're getting closer to the 8 o'clock hour, right? All right, let's look at this one. 4:25. In 5 minutes, what's going to happen? It's going to be 4:30 or 4:30. So I know I want my hour hand to be between the 4 and the 5. And then my minute hand is going to go straight down through the 6. You see that? Well, I did 4:30. Miss Street made a blooper. It's okay. I'm okay with blooping. Everybody makes mistakes. So here, look at the purple line. So it's 4:25. Okay? It's almost 4:30. Miss Street messed up. Let's look here, 1:35. So I know it's already 1:30. So where would our hour hand be? Yeah, between the 1 and the 2. And then I know 1/2 is 30 minutes, and that's at the 6. So I go to the next number, and that would be 35. Let's see if I can do this right. Ta-da-ta-da. So that shows us 1:35. And lastly, we're going to finish here, 3:20. So I'm thinking about my minutes relative to where they are. Miss Street's having her moment. I remember thirds and fractions, and even in your geometry standard, we had to partition a circle into thirds, 3 equal parts of time. And those parts of time were 20 minutes. That's a true story. So it's not quite half. So then we know that our hour hand would kind of still be pointing at the 3. And then our 20 minutes, we know 5, 10, 15, 20 would be add the 4. Miss Street really wants to draw thirds on this and go there, but I'm not going to today. All right, so we worked hard within our measurement and data time standard. Miss Street's going to be right here again tomorrow, working some more in this, because I want to really make connections to your geometry standards where we partition circles into thirds and fourths and what that actually means and how we can use that in life. So I love you guys. I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow. I love ya. Tomorrow. You're only a day away. See you tomorrow.